Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It's Brad Kilgore here with America's Best Shops with my good friend Laura Southerly. How are you today, Laura?
Doing great, Brad. It's always a pleasure to be on the screen with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely great to see your smiling face. And in this episode, we're going to just really tie into some of the things we've talked about before, but really about staying in gratitude with what you have with your business and also treating your customers at a really high level so that they really feel appreciated. So, with all of that being said, I think that as humans, sometimes we forget about gratitude in general. And I have to remind myself constantly, I am grateful today for so many things, you know? And whenever we're running businesses, there's always things that are just, they're always going to trip you up and unexpected stuff and all those things. But if we could just stay in gratitude, I remember my dad many years ago told me, he ran many, many successful businesses all the way back to 1970. And I remember him saying, because I would ask him, how do you manage all these things? How do you deal with the ups and downs of business ownership and stress? And he would say, you know what? When I get up, I know that when I go into my day, I'll be putting out some fires and I'll be dealing with some craziness, but I just know that I'll get through them and that it'll be a good day and I'll stay in gratitude. Does that, I mean, have you heard anything similar to that before?
Absolutely. And I think, a lot of people, the gratitude journal, if you start your day, just even if it is, I'm grateful for friendships, I'm grateful for having conversation with fine people during the day, I'm grateful for the sunshine, for some cool breeze. Right now it's freezing here, so we'll take a warm breeze, but has the ability to put us all in a fantastic mindset if we can focus on what we're grateful for.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, I pride myself on staying in gratitude as much as possible and reminding myself to stay in gratitude. And so, with that, one thing that you can be grateful for is your customers. And I know this is very important that you remind them that you care because in the world we live in, there's a lot of instances where we feel like maybe the vendor or the company or the dentist or whoever didn't really care. A dentist, I think she cares, but I went to a new eye doctor. I highly doubt they would watch my show. And honestly, I hope they do. Maybe they'd realize that I felt they did not care about me in any way, shape, or form. I was a number to them. I was just cattle running through the slot, and I felt very unappreciated. And it was mistake after mistake, and they didn't seem to care. And so we all experience those things where we have negative experiences or less than desirable experiences with companies out there. So in your shop, if you can just think, even if you think small to medium, to say, I'm going to set up a system, I'm going to have my marketing agency help me set up a system or whatever it is to say, how can I show my customers that I appreciate them? And I have a couple of different ideas. And Laura and I were talking earlier about, I guess, an acronym or almost like a radio station. Can you remind me what that was about?
The WIIFM, and that's the reason why we thought of a radio station, of course, with the FM, but it is one that has been out there for a long time, but it's what's in it for me. And if we can keep that in mind, that separates businesses apart quickly because to your point, if you start out thinking, one, I've got gratitude towards, or I'm very grateful for my customers, my clients, and then you start thinking, what's in it for them? So if you think of it from their standpoint, I will mention that I too am looking for a new dentist, mainly because the one that I thought I was going to be going to has this thing about a deposit. Anyway, they've pushed me off for 6 months because it's just the way that they've been interacting with me, and I'm thinking it's not started off at a good spot because they refuse to schedule anything. It's just a really not exactly what's in it for me on trying to get into a dentist's office. So I don't think that some companies see it from the customer's viewpoint. So that's like this is a great episode, Brad, for the listeners to think about, wow, if I see it from their standpoint and think, what's in it for me, meaning the me in these scenarios is our end users, the clients, the customers, it really sets them apart.
Right, right. I mean, it goes back to even if you only have a waiting room or something where they're getting their vehicle worked on or that type of thing. Make it clean, make it presentable, make it have some coffee and some waters and maybe some snacks, have the ability for them to sit comfortably, all those different things, and, have a bathroom nearby that's not covered in dirt and grease. And you can't always do that, but if you can, it goes a long ways. I
It
know I've
does.
experienced that many times with going to a shop. And then some other things that could tie into treating your customers like you really care about them. You could have a system in place where you make sure that you get their birthday when to do an intake form or what have you, anniversary, whatever it is. And so you could have an automated system where it just sends them an email. There's systems that could send them a postcard or a card, just saying, "Hey, we appreciate you. Hope you have a great day." Little things like that. It doesn't cost a lot, and it goes the extra mile.
It really does, and it shows that you're listening as a business owner, that you are listening, because you remembering their birthday may be the only people that remember their birthday, and it's just like Brad was saying, an automated quick thing that you can put in your system, but if it gets them to smile, they're gonna think of you in a very good manner.
That's right. You could always, in the card or in the email or whatever you send, you could even put a little spiff in there, 10% off next visit or what have you, but I really think that going the extra mile makes a big difference. And I know we talk a lot about AI and systems and that type of thing. And obviously that can be used in this scenario, but it goes back to human in the loop. If the human touch, to me, far outweighs anything you can do with AI or with a system that's automated. And so by going that extra mile, by being unique, something a little bit different, you could get creative. What else could you think of that would make them really think, hey, I'm grateful that these guys are my shop because they have different things that really get my attention and make me feel like I'm something. I'm special. You run contests. There's lots of different things you could do. I mean, stop and think sometimes. I know we all get busy in the day to day grind, but stop and think, what could I do outside the box to let my customers know I appreciate them? You have to be cautious when you're asking for Google reviews for something in exchange. I mean, there's definitely some regulations around that. But sometimes, even if you did something nice for them, if they did it, you didn't have to bribe them to say, "Hey, if you leave me a review, as a review, I'll do this." But what if you just did it anyway? What if you sent them again something that could be triggered automatically if they left you a positive review? That again, you could send them something just that you're just grateful that they did that. What do you think?
I think that you're definitely highlighting some things that would set anybody apart. One thing that came to mind too is yes, automating is wonderful, but depending on your shop, if you're able to have someone call and follow up the day of, the day after, a week after, ask how was the service, or even just find out how the build was or how the completion of the project went or any feedback, just that personal outreach. The other thing that kind of comes to mind, and I do not know why, but ask them, especially if we're talking about automotive, ask them if they have a name for their car. I know that seems to be the cool things these days with some of these younger generations is they name their cars. So even if you can just ask as, hey, should we make notice to what you refer to your car instead of the, you know, 2024 Dodge Daytona or whatever it might be, Durango, I guess. I don't even know if they make Daytonas anymore. But I'm just saying that if there's some way you can personalize it even further when you're collecting their information and streamlining it. I tell you what, one thing that can be most annoying to somebody coming in is to fill out paperwork after paperwork after paperwork. So if there's any way that you can streamline it to say, hey, we've got all this information gathered, again, that makes it a pleasant interaction. They see that you thought of them, thought of their time, thought of, they can definitely review it, correct it, provide anything that might be missing. But anything to make that visit and the interaction and the exit inviting them back for the next visit really helps with that, building that relationship.
That's exactly right. Any way you can, streamline it, like you said, make it easier for them. And so I think that's a great idea. You know, at the end of the day, the key points I would mention would be stay in gratitude for what you have. You know, I think as humans, we think about Well, if I only had that, if I only had that, well, it'll be better when I make this much. Be better if I had these 30 more customers. Well, if you just continue to stay in gratitude for what you have, those other things will come. And the second piece is to really make your customers feel special. Let them know that you care any way you can. And I think that that will help you with longevity in your business.
Absolutely. I think you nailed it.
Perfect. Well, with that, I think we'll go ahead and close out another episode of America's Best Shops. Laura, always a pleasure to see you. Hope to see you
Same.
again next week, and we'll wrap.
Thank you.